drifted alarmingly in the betting, was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
And a big warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry Sunday sermon for all those that have sinned on this very weekend, but the Bar Stewards for once haven't, because me, John Lang, Quentin Franks and Adam Norman on Friday show managed to produce some winners, John. What's gone wrong?
Again, blind pigs round truffles. In the words of Harry Cartel, let's not all start sucking each other's dicks just yet.
Not because we're like 50 points behind still on season. That's as a group effort. A dreadful effort by us, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And I appreciate the feedback of all listeners, because it doesn't mean a lot, like privately and publicly, because it just gives you a bit of a lift. We did have one or two moaners, but that's what it is all about. We're tipping at short prices, apparently, John. I don't understand that. There were some big prices there mixed in with all the furore. Your best bet was like 11-1. I think Quentin stuck one in 18s, and it's been unfair, really, to go short prices. I mean, I don't think we're that bad.
Well, one of mine won at 10-11, didn't it? I think that probably pissed people off.
I think that's what's done him. It's like tipping odds on shots. You can't win backing odds on.
The long game, remember that. In the long run, if you kick etc., etc.
Indeed. Right. Okay, we're going to start off as always with the racing review, which covers yesterday's racing mainly. I might touch on one today at Punchestown that obviously looks interesting for Cheltenham, but we'll start with Saturday, John. It was good fare, wasn't it? No, he's not. The silence. No, we've got the Lanzarote, Kempton, and that's where we'll sort of head off first. We'll do it in reverse order, because then we'll talk about Pete Boughey's easy win. But the Lanzarote was a very messy race, I felt, John. All bunched up throughout, not much room for anything. In a way, I think that I don't know if they've narrowed track or anything, or whether it was pace they went, but that looked too big a field size.
Around there.
Yeah.
They did look a bit bunched up, didn't they?
Yeah. It's like very tight. There weren't much room at any point for, especially horses held up. You were like, phew, the Fav had a rough trip. I know, because obviously
I was sort of looking forward to watching the race, and then after I'd watched it was sort of,
Yeah, exactly.
I asked about it.
No, my interests obviously were at fourth, quite heavily Green Glory, because obviously I'd bet it, and I just thought it were a good thing on back of Leopardstown. Nothing went right for it. Fowler fell in front of it. He had to swerve early. Always getting messed about, not jumping well. It was just one of them races where you just thought, like, I'd draw a line through a lot of it, to be honest. If you've run crap in that, or your selection ran crap in that, I won't be that bothered if you had, because it was deep ground. It was totally messy, and I think you could run that race. I know it's a cliche, but you run it next week, you get a completely different result. That's me and John's thoughts on that. 205 Silviano Conti chase. Pete Boughey, we were quite negative on it on the show in terms of he does its thing, but it's a bit in and out at times. But you can't argue with that, John, can you? They're absolutely pissed on him.
It did. It murdered them fuckers, to be fair. I don't know what the low ratings were.
Well, this is the embarrassing thing, innit? From our handicappers, it's the look at that, and this is where Irish sort of laugh at us, because they'll probably slap. It's official rate 157, the second's 154, the third's 160, the fourth's 157, the fifth's 151. So any sane person would normally say, well, it's 116 lengths, we've got to shoot it up 10. But honestly, and this is my honest opinion, I might give it 3 as a token gesture of acknowledging the performance to about 160.
You'd be worried if you weren't any higher, wouldn't you, for your own sanity?
Well, you've got to go back on the whole career of it. The good horses, what it's actually beat. I mean, Miller's Bank's a good horse, but when you consider Miller's Bank's official rating of 155.
Yeah.
That's what he is. And Miller's Bank should have beaten him in the Peterborough. So this is what we're saying. But we know handicappers are idiots, and that's what they'll do. They'll just go Larry with it. And but I'm surprised how much didn't run the races. I mean, Angel's Breath wanted to take Alt Birch home with him as a present. Cool Cody, obviously, up to this grade, really. Maxwell were having a jolly up at the back.
I think Kempton was proper snot on Saturday, that ground, like.
It was, weren't it? It was really bad. Anson was nice for Friday pod, wasn't it? Doing what we said on Friday. We said, he's one of them. Old John Joe sat. I was picturing you all the way around on that race.
Yeah, they were halfway down the back, and
you're staring at this green number.
Yeah, I stayed up and I was whistling for the dog to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, I was quite pleased there because I knew what you'd do. So that were good. Move on to Warwick, where most sort of better TV action, or it was better racing anyway to watch. The 150 race, though, I said complete unknown. He didn't jump as well as he did at Foss Lass. I was quite surprised by that. Right with the goffer. And the mare absolutely blitzed them. But I knew she was talented. She is really, really talented. But she was hard to back after Kempton, John, and obviously she was right back to her best there.
Well, it was the Saturday Skelly one, Did we get the Skelly copter after the race?
Is the Skelly copter? Is that what it is? Were you straight in it?
I don't know whether that's what it's called. I don't know whether he did it or not. I was
Skelly copter.
I was stuck with it long enough to see if it got the big build-up on the morning line, didn't it?
Yeah.
And he said if he had a winner, he's going to enjoy yourself and do it. And Luke Harvey was doing it in the back.
They always deal with the big issues, don't they? The Skellycopter. I mean, what a load of old shit. Fucking nonsense, isn't it? I mean, for fuck's sake. That's all they can think about bringing up. I mean, how trivial.
And there's no. I know the serious racing topics.
Well, it was nip and tuck. It was between the Skellycopter and the Skelly-ration.
Yeah.
Oh no! Yeah. I'm glad I weren't watching this. Oh, God, that is absolutely. Who was architecting this, John?
No, it might have been Rishi doing the comparing, but I don't think it was his baby. Because they had computer graphics as well. So I think it was a production team idea myself.
They won't mention what Skelton did to that owner, ripping him off. No. Where's that? There's a carpet and a broom somewhere. And
it's Teddy Beckett's fucking rug, isn't it, again?
Yeah.
I think it's the third highest peak in the world. And I think people are going to be climbing that soon, aren't they?
Indeed. I'm glad I weren't watching. 225, the Leamington. Grey Dawning. Always knew this horse had a big engine. It's whether you can see the quirkiness in him as he got to the front on the running, wandering about a bit, having a look. But what an engine he's got, John. Yours ran.
You wouldn't want to be doing a Skellycopter on that fella, would you?
No.
Bloody railings, were you?
Ginny's Destiny, your choice, ran very well. There's definitely a big future in that. Just got tired, just basically outpowered by the winner in the conditions. But maybe Ginny's Destiny, John, just might be that probably too deep. Do you think for that horse?
Yeah, I think a bit better ground wouldn't hurt at all.
Well, he's by Yates, and as you could do all you statisticians listening, you can go through the stats for Yates, and Yates good to soft, good ground. They improve. They're better than soft heavy. So the way he travels, I think he's if they do have something in mind in the spring, I'd be really interested in that one on better ground. The way he goes through the race is eye catching. So I like the front two going forwards. To be honest, I think they're the two to take out of the race. I was disappointed in Snake Roll. I expected that from the Ginger Curly one, but no, it didn't happen for that horse. What it was. But Grey Dawning, they're talking about the possible entry in the Ballymore, I believe. Oh, sorry, not the Ballymore, the Albert. Sorry. What am I about? The Albert Bartlett, the 3 miler, which will suit it. But what we've seen so far is that it handles testing conditions well and maybe not be as effective if the ground ends up quicker. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they'll have entry in mind as well rather than that race. Moving on, 3 o'clock, the Classic Chase. And
that was a performance, wasn't it?
Curveball. I put in my notes. I didn't think this would be cherry ripe because they didn't go for the Welsh national on the 26th of December because they said he wasn't ready. So with that in mind, I wasn't sure then if they were saying he wasn't ready for the Welsh national. It's only like 2 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks was it? That's what it probably needed. Maybe I underestimated. I thought maybe it wouldn't be cherry ripe for this. I thought it probably might be just a tad short, but I got that wrong and paid the price for that. But yeah, it was very impressive, John. Like you say, what did you make of any other runners take your eye?
Not really, to be honest. I think they're all pretty exposed in that race. That's just like the one that seems to have ignited, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's maybe just beating a lot of jaded exposed horses.
Yeah. 300 through 5 annoyed me because he either jumps a fence like he's just like big, bold, born natural, and then next fence he's bellying it halfway up.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't get that because it's like how can you make such a brilliant shape at one fence and you think that can jump, and then next fence he's just blasting through it. It's just kind of he's
of the Goshen ilk and he's an equine wanker.
Yeah, it was weak in the betting as well. Yeah, well, anyway, that's pretty much all I've got to say on that. The Pertemps was a downgraded race because of JP's withdrawals of his two, which would have made it more interesting and fun to watch the non-buzzers. but I was pleased for myself. So obviously, the mare, Glimpse of Gala, didn't jump that great, but how tough was she, John?
Yeah, felt like a Comanche, really. Nothing not to like there. Almost certainly won't win the final.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that obviously that probably is going to be the plan, isn't it, to go for the Pertemps final? I think they actually said that, but I just wish they'd probably just swerve Cheltenham and just keep going in soup. I think she's a soup horse. I think she's a grinder. She fights. She loves the game, and I think you run her in a Pertemps. It's like it's just tickets for the day, isn't it?
I think if you were taking out of that race final, it would probably be, I don't know, Pericle or Pipes.
Yeah. I mean, he's, as I said, he's just not really. There's nothing in there that's gonna.
You can't.
No. Right, on to today, and I just wanted to cover that. I don't know if you watched it, whether you could be bothered. Moscow Flyer, Imperi Pass. Didn't know whether you watched that. It's not done anything that I didn't expect it to do. It was impressive. It's beat a mare I like very much in the Model Kingdom that wasn't off for Davey Russell's retirement race when they all just like let it.
Yeah.
And I backed Model Kingdom that day and was like really annoyed. She's a good mare and she's entered the mare's hurdle. I'd expect her to be on a par with sort of the first six in that race in a mare's hurdle. So the fact that she's got a 33-1 quote for that, I think that's a tad of value because she wasn't off at Thurles. She pissed up against Halibut the time before. Nothing fishy about that either.
Okay.
and then there she's come up against probably a very, very good horse. That's sort of 8-1 for the Supreme or 6-1 for the Ballymore. So how has she got a 33-1 quote for the mare's hurdle? Because on the back of that form and the time before where she wasn't off and Halibut, I think she's about a 140 mare, 145. That kind. I do think she can get there. So that puts her in the picture. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, she's 5 from 9. I love her constitution, and I do think she's more to come on better ground as well. So I'd have a little look at that 33s, to be honest. But the problem is at this stage, as I've said, will Epitampton in the mares? Will where's Honeysuckle going, etc., etc. The anti-post markets. When people say to me, "Oh, what do you fancy for Cheltenham right now?" It's like you'd rather have a bad curry with wrong naan bread scent, wouldn't you?
You fucking would in that sense.
Wrong naan bread. Jeez. Riots down there.
Yeah. Right. So I think that's about review done, to be honest. Quickly moving on then to Jimmy Lindley. And John, I don't know if you've had a chance to look this week at anything that caught your eye.
I had a look. There was absolutely zero caught me either.
Okay. I've seen one I really like. It's not really a Jimmy Lindley as in, oh, this is Ben, it's not off. But it's like really a horse that I think he's going to improve. It ran at Doncaster on Tuesday, the 10th of January, 12:45 race. A horse called Oak Creek, trained by Tom George and ridden by Mr. Ben Sutton, taking the 7 off. And obviously, he's learning his trade, he's the lad. This one is physically he's incredible. I really like this horse physically. I think he's really a horse that's got to improve for the next 2 or 3 years, I think. But what took my eye was obviously how he stayed on under no sort of pressure whatsoever. And I rate him the best in the race. If that had a pilot on that day, despite jumping sketchy and terribly, it would have won, which makes it already about 120, I feel. So if I'm saying that it's already 120 now, then with a probably a better pilot and someone, this will win any normal novice hurdle next time out. I don't see point of them going a handicapping route because they've shown they're already getting a pretty decent mark. So I reckon they'll try and find a weak novice hurdle where they won't get any more on official ratings for beating bad uns, than what they've run against there. And I think this horse has got a fabulous hurdles and chasing career ahead of him. He ran in the point to points. He's from a decent family. Nothing not to like about him physically. And the form's there, and it was a big eye catcher. So Oak Creek, folks, get that in your trackers. And if you like a good 6-4 chance in a shit novice hurdle, that's probably your barrow. Right. We'll move on. Return of Davey Russel, John.
Is anybody surprised?
Did you always think it? Do you think that? I mean, would he have come back if there hadn't been injuries to Elliot Jockey?
No. But once that happened, I mean, he's still race fit, isn't he? He hasn't had a chance to be let down, shall we say?
Yeah.
So I think it was a fairly obvious move for Fatty to give him a bell and say, look, we need you for a show weight, so you're fixed. And I don't think it's any surprise that he's answered in the affirmative, really.
No. I mean, it's one of them, isn't it? It's kind of surreal because obviously we had all that retirement fair where he brings his entire family to Thurles and they're all there, they're all singing away and this, that, and that. And then it's just kind of surreal, all this. Ben Keith calls him the great man returns, and this is how everyone should be attacking life like Davey Russell. It could be some kind of fairy tale at the festival. Yeah.
With gusto. Though I think John, Chris Paul will be giving you a tug for that, won't he? When you said it was always going to happen. No one's surprised. You should have had the 7-4. I think the Fitzdares were offering. I think earlier in the week.
All right.
Yeah, that's right. They were offering. Will Davey make combat? It was sort of 7-4. He does, and it was on offer for a couple of days, I think. So should have filled your boots. All clients were on big maximum bet.
We're starting to sound like television pundits now, aren't we? There was one on Saturday, before we move on, there's one on Saturday. It was Alex Hammond and Jamie Lynch on ATR.
Now.
And there was like bumping and barging at Lingfield in the opener, and the one that was beat went 102 in running. It was coming through to win. The other one sort of veered in its path. It had to switch, and it still got beat at length, but it cost it all momentum. And the fact it was
Haggis horse, was that?
Yeah,
Haggis horse?
yeah.
I was on that,
and it was so funny, like respective presenters, because like Alex Hammond, bless her, she said, well, it wouldn't have. There's nothing to see. It wouldn't have affected the result. And then Jamie Lynch had to point out to her and say, Alex, it went 102. It was 102 as it's coming through to take it up. They're absolute. And then in the inquiry, I think it was roughly about 4-9 to keep, 9-4 to get it. And yet Alex Hammond literally after line, like some of them do. The smoke blowing about the winner after the line. He's like, oh, what a great performance by the winner. And despite a fast finishing second that's been stopped 4 times in the run, they don't see that. It's it's all about what a lovely winner that was, And again, lazy punditry. It's just a sign of like you always see it, don't you? Oh, you could tell that was never going to win, and it was like gone 3s on him running. Why are you sat in there for 250 notes? Why are you sat in there? You should be at home with us, Yeah.
Easy game, isn't it? After
Yeah, no, that was never going to win. Oh, all right.
We're all wrong. Yeah, obvious that.
Yeah. Just other news before we kick on to some really juicy topics in the next part of the show. Paul Byrne. I don't know if it could be news, and I'm just repeating old news, but
lazy punditry that is, Lee. Honestly, that is just
the
same old
I know. I've looked, but I haven't seen it in news. But Paul Byrne.
Yes.
Whose horses with Emmett Mullins in the turquoise colours, the big gambler, has sold Filey Bay and Sir Scottish to the great man, the green and gold. And 2 horses there, Filey Bay, I think 7-1 for Betfair Hurdle, and Sir Scottish, of course, should have beaten Boot Hill at Ascot in that handicap chase. Boot Hill was a worthy winner, I'm not saying, but if you watch Sir Scottish in the run, he made a couple of mistakes. Mikey O'Sullivan gave it a crap ride. I'd to end up coming really wide round bend and to get a run. They bunched up round the bend. It was just crap. He definitely.
Returners.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what they do here because it's got a really good marker, 138, because it's been running in England, and I wonder if that's been the plan. Right, because you know what they do they run in Ireland. You win a handicap in Ireland, and you go up for when you race in England. Well, Emmett Mullins has been running it in England. So your mark's not going to go up. 138, 2.5 mile would be fine.
Be dangerous off that, wouldn't it?
It could. It's a lot better than 138. I said it in the Ascot race, so I'm keeping. That's the one that I'm keeping close. On my tracker, etc., waiting to see where they enter it. And
base that on our Cheltenham preview night.
Yes, we can scupper everyone's prices. No, we've already mentioned it on here anyway. I've done it now. Anyway, move on to some topics. George Boughey. This is interesting. Standoff with the handicapper. The BHA handicappers are very, very unhappy with Georgie Boy as he's been a naughty boy this year. Or has he been a naughty boy? This is for us to discuss. Right. Basically, now they're making him have 4 runs to get a handicap mark instead of the usual 3. And they're citing that basically he's completely taking the piss. Absolutely. And there is evidence to side with the BHA handicaps on this. That, for example, you got last year alone, just 4 examples here. There's probably more. Spangled Mac 74 to 97, Fantasy Mac 59 to 83. Simply Sondheim 56 to 87, Queen of Ipanema 52 to 82, and another one for your Pocket the Packet 52 to 81. So
how much has he been done for non-triers?
Not once. So
they're victimising him and they're out of order.
Well, this is why I want you two's views, because there's a lot of ways you can. I'll give you my piece, and I'll bring you in, Chris, to see what you. Because I think I know what Chris is going to say, but the way I see it is that I think he's making a mistake compared to, say, other trainers that do this kind of thing. And they all do it because it's all about playing the system. Yeah. It's all about getting a horse from, say, you get a horse for your owner, you do your best for your owner, get it off. It's not a world beater, but it might be 85. So, right, we'll get it off 65, 70, and we can have some fun. That's what it's all about. The difference is with what Bowie's doing, right? He's going in first time in the handicap, and he's pissing up, and it's like no one. So that's where stewards are going. Oh, hang on a minute, you've just finished tailed off, and now you've like pissed up, and it's like how can that be? Everyone knows, right? So that's him being naive for me, because what I'd do if I were Boughey, you just keep, you make sure that you build it up steadily. You might finish 5th or 4th, and then beating 4 or 5 lengths, and then when you win next time, what does Stewart say then? Where's your improvement come from? Well, it's not as bad, is it? Because you finished 4th or beating 5 lengths the time before. So for me, it's Bowie's lack of nous here that's got him in trouble, because he's just literally he's going like for first time handicap, bang, we've pissed up, and that to me is the failings of Bowie. Bowie's doing right by his owners, and he's playing the game like, say, Prescott would, Simcock would, a friend of the Sir Stuart Williams. We all know what to do. It's just a case of how it comes across. You don't go put your hand in the bank and steal the 500s while everyone's sat there. You wait till they've gone to the toilet, Chris.
I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I agree. I mean, I think he's a really good trainer, right? And I think he definitely knows what he's doing. But I think you're right. His approach is really naive. And the other one I'll cite is that one that won the last race at Southall today, beginning with E. I can't pronounce it. But when that won the time before last, when they sort of jacked it up to 1 mile 6, the run prior to that, I think it was beat about 40 lengths, wasn't it? It was absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying it's a handicap, but it's absolutely tailed. Gelds it, gives it a couple of months off, and bang, that one hard held. I think Simon Walker rode it. Can you remember?
Yeah, T.I. It's won again today at Southall.
Yeah, it's won again today. Exactly right. And that just didn't win, did it? It absolutely pissed up. Now, on form, strictly, that had absolutely no right to go off at sort of whatever it was, 6-4 or whatever, or even money, whatever the SP. And it's won fucking laughing at the judge. So, so that is immediately going to hit the radar of anybody that has responsibility for looking at the integrity of the sport. Now, had he give that a couple of further runs up, down the bank, maybe getting a bit closer, then I don't think anyone would have squealed so much. But I think you're right. Well, it's really naive on his part.
In case of that one as an example, just to clarify that one, he did get that one from Stout. I get that.
He
did. It was his first run for Stout, literally off the.
And that's legit.
Well, second.
Is, that would have hit the right. Irrespective of whether he would say, well, it's we've had it. I think it had one run after he got it from.
He
Stout.
did tailed off at 5-2,
and it wasn't just beat though. It was beat sort of a circuit, wasn't it? Effectively, the others were lapping it. And so, I mean, you could say, well, I've got it gelded, got his head straight, etc., etc. But when you're not that subtle, you're going to fall foul of the stewards. You look what, Ronan's sort of come a cropper, isn't he? You can only do that sort of stuff so many times before people say, hang on a minute. Now, George Boughey doesn't have the, he's not a baronet, so he's not going to have that sort of armour that will protect him from the establishment. If he made him Sir George Boughey, he'd be all right, wouldn't he? Right? But he's not. So that's the issue he's got. And I think because he's quite young, and I don't know whether he's a punter or not, but it's quite crude, isn't it? And that's always going to hit the radar very quickly. But a couple more runs and no one will make any fucking notes because he said, well, look, he finished 5th last time, stopped a couple of times in running. Look, it's just improving with racing.
Yeah, I don't think he's a punter because some of these first time handicap debutants have gone off at big prices. And drifted badly. Yeah. I genuinely don't think he's a punter. He wants to train Group 1 winners, but whilst he's got a full book of owners that are basically paying him money to do his job and do whatever, and he said, right, well, I've got you this off 50. It's probably 65. He probably didn't know himself. And it's like, it wins 3 out bounds. Prescott does it, but the thing is, like Huey Morrison, people like that, they seem to have they'll have a float up. So Huey Morrison will have a 3-year-old handicapper, say in April. He'll finish like 5th at Windsor or something, just running on nicely into 5th as first run at season. And he knows he's going to be 5 or 6 to 1 instead of 33 to 1 next time. Yes. But he knows that we weren't right there either, so we know we've got more to come on that. And then they press button, and then the jockey club or the BHA they're not that bothered because it's like, well, he ran fairly well last time. What's to see here? It's an horse progressive.
There's something in the form book that the trainer can point to and say, well, hey, look how well it ran sort of 2 starts ago, and here's the reason why it hasn't run well since. You think, well, okay, you haven't completely concealed the ability. But with Summer Bowie's, you're right. They've shown absolutely nothing, as in, stone bonk last. And so, it's inevitable, really. There's only so many times you can do that.
Yeah. John, final subject. So you believe that Boughey has been sort of bit of victim here in terms of compared to other people in the game?
Well, they could do what they've done with the kitchen fit, they couldn't they? And take retrospective action. He's been scolding in public if they wanted, but no, they chose not to because they know it wouldn't stick.
No, because he's a Group 1 winning. He's a Group 1 winning trainer. He trains for Harry Herbert. He trains for big owners.
They're wearing a big stick to frighten the lad, and I hope he sticks to his guns and keeps down where he goes.
Well, I think they ran one the other day on fourth run tailed off.
Yeah, I think they did actually.
Yeah,
I
there
mean,
we go.
He's a good trainer. He will win plenty of big races. He's one of those guys that, you know, his trajectory is definitely in the ascendant.
I much prefer a trainer that you can rate like that you think, well, it's had its 3 runs, we're going to say what's what now.
The punter's friend. Punters might want me to moan about this, but basically...
The worst thing that could have happened for punters in the last 10 years was they're only getting caught.
Yes, 40-odd%.
You could back his 2-year-olds with impunity first time out. It didn't matter. You did not have to study, nothing.
Yeah, the Zaruni, I remember it, John. The Zaruni first time out system, yeah.
Yeah, just back them.
Yeah. Unlike David Loader, who were about 40%, you were actually getting prices on Zaruni.
Yeah, I mean, they'd go out like a minute with them at the far and piss up.
Yeah. That was great. But like you said, we shouldn't moan. Punters don't moan. It literally is gold dust at the minute. Boughey's taking on the establishment. Only thing I'd say is, right, so I'm going to put myself in other shoes now. I'm BH handicapper. They pay me more than the 50 grand they give because I'll never do it for that. But if they pay me plenty, right, so what would I do now? Well, I wouldn't make him have 4 runs. I'd start slapping him. I'd just bring in dynamic handicapping, which that doesn't mean I'm going to like mess around with every race and start saying, well, I'll get 4th more than winner and stuff like that. But what I'd do is for people that I feel are playing handicap system, I'd have a £10 penalty. And I'd put you in a red zone. And if I thought you were just pissing on me all the time, I'd just automatically give you another 10 because I'd just say to you, you're improving 20 to 25 pounds in 3 or 4 runs.
Well, these are all things that could go instead of being assholes about it, couldn't they?
Well, that's it. Right?
Yeah, there's lots of different things. I mean, if it were me, I'd be on the phone to George and say, George, what number shall I give this one? And give us a call when it's off. That's all you need to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll be doing them all.
But it doesn't matter.
Like, George?
It doesn't matter all you're doing it because even if I gave them 10 more and then they said, right, well, we'll have 2 spins then and we'll get another 4 or 5 off. So it doesn't really matter what you do. You can inconvenience them, but if you have a game at the end of the day that is rewarded for handicapping them, then you're going to get end of the day you're going to get trainers handicapping them, and rightfully so. And the shrewdest trainers are the ones that get them off the best marks, and the ones that aren't shrewd are the ones that try hardest, and then they get average marks and then don't win.
Yeah, that's it.
That's pretty much in a nutshell. Right, next subject. We've done George Boughey to death. The BHA. Now, will they look towards South Africa for some inspiration? I know what John's thinking right now. We'll bring him in a second. Yeah. Yeah. More racism.
Yeah, fucking apartheid. Yeah, we'll have a bit of that. Yeah, separate development. Yeah.
Maybe a burning tie around Harrington and that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the old necklace. Yeah, the old township.
Good, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
No, very good. I like that. I like that interjection. Greg Bortz or Greg Bohr. Never heard of him until recently when I read an article. Businessman that took over.
He was an extra in Zolo, wasn't he?
Thousands of them. Don't shoot. You see the whites of their eyes. Yeah.
Pick your target when they come.
Yeah.
Said businessman. He took over the administration of Kenilworth and Durbanville. He gave them a cash injection, saved the tracks basically. South African racing on its arse. Apparently, betting turnover for the entire country was 13% down. In the Cape Town jurisdiction, however, since Bortz came in, it went up by 9%, and which is I mean that's a trend booker if ever anyone looked at one. And prize money has increased there on average from 3.5k to 6k per race, which 6k per race is probably as good as our kind of normal fair racing. So they've done well there, given that it's like £1 to 20 rand. Field sizes have gone up from 8 to 10.3 average in 12 months. And the interesting thing, what I thought here, folks, because we've been banging on about this in sermons, about how Big Corp have taken over the show and what a mess they're making of British racing. They don't care. The key here is that they did a 15% cut in fixtures. So the fact that they've cut fixtures by 15% and yet turnover's gone up 9% suggests that punters there think less is more. They're more than happy to have less racing, save the pennies up, and go right. We've got one Friday. We've got one, and that's what it, for me, it should be about. It shouldn't just be about 10:30 starts, 8:30 finishes every day to suit Big Corp and suit a product that no one's interested in other than betting shop fodder. It should literally be a product that appeases to all. So this is a model, chaps, here that has proven over a year it actually works, and this is at a time when the world really is in sort of recession, cost of living, etc., and yet he's improved turnover by 9% on betting in Cape Town racecourses. So what do we think, John?
We all need a bit of Greg Bart by the sound of things.
Well, I'd love him to sit down with the stakeholders on this one. When
an extra in Zolo must pay a lot better than that. I mean, it's what we've been advocating, isn't it, all the time? Cut the fixtures.
Well, it just makes sense. It literally does. The fact that you could still come up with a spicy calendar with, say, 15% less fixtures, because what you can, like some people have highlighted before about analysing what horses are in training, you can do through the BHA site. Trainers can actually put, if they're in training, out, which they do anyway, but you could put ready for a run, not quite ready for a run, it could be orange. So you could have a more dynamic set of racing that will fill races as well, and you're going to get fuller field sizes, more interest. Bookmakers surely are going to like the punters have only got so much in the pocket anyway, so it won't matter if you have 50 races a day or 15. They're still going to spend it.
I went completely down the wrong avenue there when you started talking about having a spicy calendar. I was thinking of recruiting Leona and Megs Nichols and made that win with Polaroid.
Or was that when those calendars used to be behind the bar for KP nuts? You used to sort of take the, the barman used to take the packets of nuts off and underneath.
That's it, yeah.
With their tits out, yeah.
I bought 15 packets of nuts one night.
Yeah, I have 200 packets. Yeah.
Then there was a bloody staple there.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, or she's wearing a swimming costume. How disappointing. Yeah. Anyway, there we are.
Seriously, though, do you think the BHA will look at this or not?
Not because they're not. We know the one, don't we? I mean, inertia is the watchword.
But this is a real life study, John.
They don't care. They've got their plan in their head that doesn't rock the gravy boat. And it would take a fucking bomb attack on bloody High Holborn to alter their path to mutually assured destruction.
Oh, yeah. So, British Horse Racing Board. No, the British Horse Racing. I'm going back in time. British Horse Racing Authority. If you get any of your plebs to listen to this podcast, there you go. It's there in front of you. But you'll not take it. You'll still listen to all the stakeholders and make it a complete mess.
Paul fucking Dixon, aren't
Yeah.
Mel's
Right.
still waiting for his call back from him. Yeah.
Right, moving on to the Irish. We thought we'd give the Irish some focus. And there's an interesting Irish Times article on today about the way the Irish game is run. It's different to ours. Obviously, Irish racing gets a public funding amount each year to obviously prize money, because obviously racing in Ireland is considered as agriculture. So they get a 73 million euros to fund the sport. But there are complications from this, because it's not one body like we have, France have, etc., etc. Ireland is run by HRI, Horse Racing Ireland, and
technically we aren't one body, are we? Because
one
group says one thing and then another group pulls her in another direction.
No, we're Bet365, Entain, and Flutter. That's who runs this sport. The BHA just have expensive posh dinners. But yeah, so anyway, the Irish Horse Racing Board are the other entity. They get a 15 million euro funding for running the integrity of the game. So they look after the integrity. Horse Racing Ireland just run the logistics and the administration. However, dirty goings on in Ireland over the years, and we're not talking just about juicing or anything else, but mainly the fight to a case of Chris Gordon, the man formerly in charge of integrity in Ireland, was recently awarded £300,000 in damages after claims of sort of bullying and restricting of his duties as the Irish Horse Racing Board apparently curtailed his ability to basically do his job. And this was down apparently to the Irish Trainers Association, Racehorse Trainers Association. Noel Meade headed it, and he was complaining like mad at Chris Gordon and this and the other. Now, John, this sounds to me like the trainers over there, I don't know if that's the case over here, but the trainers over there have got too much power.
Well, reading that, it does sound like that. Bearing in mind, you're talking about a country that warned off Vincent O'Brien at one point.
Mm.
You know, so I think when they've got the will to do it, they're perfectly capable of doing it. So I don't know.
But doesn't that depend on who's in charge?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't profess to know enough about the structure now to know who could pull something in one particular direction or another, but it reads like the trainers are pulling the strings at the minute, mate. I'd say that. Well,
I mean, it's astonishing that it's taken 14 months since the John Warwick Kildare vet was raided,
yes.
With obviously substances that he reckons were bound for Arab Emirates. You know, all the Top Gear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can play a theme tune now in your head. Top Gear as you're doing one off at Dash. Anyway, but yeah, so basically there's nothing come of that in 14 months, all quiet over there. It's as if somebody's got some power or hold over the investigative authorities there, because they're not doing anything. There's nothing being done, or, you know, they've literally, the only thing they've managed to do is go after the kitchen fitter, which like tells you all you need to know. You know, that's the
sort of grandstanding thing you'd expect our lot to do, that, isn't it?
It is. They've gone like us.
Yeah.
And so Ireland needs cleaning up a bit on that in terms of regulation, because if they're getting 15 million euros a year to look after the game and sort of like investigate, they should be allowed to investigate. Why are trainers allowed to interfere or make complaints? You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know, you end of the day.
I think they should be allowed to complain, but I don't think they should interfere with the process.
Yeah, well, you're right. Of course they can complain.
Exactly right. I mean, complain's fine, but isn't it sort of a touch of, and I don't know, but isn't it a touch of, you know, what on earth do you know about training horses? I mean, I don't know what Chris Gordon's background is, but you could see the trainers saying, you know, what on earth does this oik know about training racehorses? We've been in it for years, Maybe there's a touch of that.
Well, that's it, mate. There's the other side of the coin as well, because obviously there was, I could be wrong on this, wasn't the failings on the time of like the Charles Burns thing, where basically Charles Burns...
I won't have a word said against King Charles. Charles is all right, boy, honestly.
It's like a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
Charles Burns, there, you know. Look, a fine fella there. Fuck you, Sebastian.
Anyway, so let us know what you think on that, listeners, because obviously us being Blighty based, sometimes news over there doesn't always reach us, etc. So let us know what you think on that topic. But it was a good article in the Irish Times, I felt, and that was a case for obviously cleaning up the game in Ireland, and so obviously there's people disgruntled about that over there. Moving on to the white paper, rumours. I am told categorically this time. I have had rumours before it's due out, but they keep putting it back, dirty Tories, etc. But I'm told it's definitely out on the 9th of Feb. I don't know why that date. But I've had a little sneaking peekage of it, and I can't reveal too much because I'm not really allowed to or supposed to. But anyway, this is the one that got my goat. That the Gambling Commission, there's not going to be that much changes. However, this is the problem. The Gambling Commission are to be the judge and jury on affordability. How worrying is that going to be?
Really?
Because we're talking about an organisation here that literally are have got one focus. I'm not going to slag them off on this pod. I've done it on other pods, so we'll save that for if you want to listen to other shows, do it. But put in a nutshell, these are people that just literally want to stop people from gambling harm. So they're not bothered about the industry. They're not bothered about what you can have on as a stake. They're not interested as long as everyone's safe and betting sensibly. Now, what that bar might be in the end could be the joke Ian Duncan Smith £100 a month. Who knows? We don't know. I'm not scaremongering. It could be that. They might just leave it as it is, and we might be able to carry on. Who knows? But letting an idiot outfit like that in charge of something like that, an industry measure, is absolutely mental, Ben. So no, not having that. Anyway, bit of a more fun topic now. Neil Tolson has put a good question on Twitter, and I did like this one in particular. And he says, this is on betting. And he says, as all of you, meaning us, at various times have said that you are having a poor time punting, are you going to change your approach for 2023? He says, I had a poor second half to 2022 and will now make a clear attempt to try to avoid the first two in the betting, as now they always look over bet. John, is there anything that you did last year that you think, or are you a man set in stone of like, and you just keep doing what you're doing because you know it works in the end?
I am pretty confident in my methods.
Yeah.
I do keep fairly diligent records, and my records did show that last year I had some freakish defeats.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen under normal circumstances. Not making excuses, but I had some blinding luck in the wrong direction last year. I don't feel the need to change anything. I feel pretty confident about things going forward. But I'd like to think I'm open to suggestions. If people notice something in my reasoning that I'll put on here, I'd love to hear from folks to say, look, you fucking crackers going down this route with this, whatever. Please feel free to point out any perceived flaws.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think it's flaws as such. I've always thought this. It's about moving with the game. For example, methods that I had in 2005 are overfished now, and probably still to this day, it's very difficult to turn a profit because people have seen what you do, and it's like, right, well, we know, we can see you, we know what you're doing. So you're always having to adapt and move in terms of. Like, so I won't say for me, I won't say change particularly that much, but I'm always looking for new edges and angles. And if I feel that certain things I'm doing is old hat because it used to work back then in the day because Betfair had more liquidity, or it could be anything. It's harder to get on now. So you're always having to think, right. And Neil mentions the first two in the betting. This is where I'm against Neil, not because. By the way, I'm not saying Neil's wrong, because there are certain people like Nick Davis who contributes on our panel, for example. He will not play at short prices. He's got the old mantra that if you've got the three, you don't need the one. He's that kind of punter. He likes to back big price winners, and there's a lot of people like that. Love a big price winner, small risk, big return. But my belief is that if you start making rules on odds, that you're shutting yourself off to potentially incredible bets. But just because it's, say, 4-6, I mean, it's like if I get 4-6, currently looking at my screen now, Arsenal are 2-0 up at Tottenham, and somebody lays me 4-6 Arsenal. It's the bet of a lifetime. You just all in. That's it. That's how it goes. So you can't. I don't think you can shut yourself off from odds on. Well, that's my opinion. I never do. I always look at a race and say, what price do you make this? 2-5. Wait, you can have 4-5. Really? Oh, I'll back it. So to me, when punters say you can't make it pay at odds on, and we get lots of punters that say that, oh, he's backing odds on chances. No, there's no punter I've ever known make it pay at odds on. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. It's literally down to, I think it's down to your own self as well. Because, Chris, I'll bring you in here. It's like, it's for your head, isn't it? Losing runs, etc. Some punters don't like to have ridiculously long losing runs. No. It's very depressing.
Yeah, it's a psychology, isn't it? I mean, these people say, well, prepared to bet horses at sort of 25s that they make sort of 16-1 chances. Well, that's nothing wrong with that methodology, but you got to expect very long losing runs, weeks, even months. I mean, look at, when Henry Ricks was in his pomp, he could go months without a winner. Now, fine. If you've got a kind of a religious faith in the process, and you're very certain that it will turn, that's fine. But who's got that kind of mindset that's prepared to go weeks and weeks without betting a winner? It's probably wrong, but I think you need a methodology that at least gives you a liberal sprinkling of winners, just to keep you kind of right between the ears. That's my view on it, anyway.
Well, I'll come to that and like betting banks now, because from September to, I'm going to say about middle of December, I was under the cosh, real under pressure. And I'm not someone that, me, Chris, I'm not someone that chucks out 33 to 1 shots or 20 to 1 shots either. I'm not saying I'm solely at the front end of the market, but I'm certainly fancied runners sort of 10 to 1 down a. That's the kind of bets I'm coming up with. The point is, and losing runs can be a lot longer than I've had, but honestly, it was incredibly testing times. Like John said, I had numerous terrible narrow defeats, fallers when in control, and you just think if this continues, I'm out the game. This will put me out. If this carries on for say another, I don't know, a couple of months, I'm dead. If, like this, in this kind of fashion, and I'm thinking, right, so again, it's an extreme mental test is betting as well. That's the thing, and if you're under stress mentally, that can also affect your decision making, because you are then thinking you're thinking I need a winner rather than an actual good bet. And so you're looking, you can go down the path of trying to look for a winner when that's completely the wrong thing to do. You should just be approaching each card on a daily basis and going, well, I like you, but you shouldn't be that price. And it's, and so on and so on. And it's a difficult mindset. It really is to sort of like be consistent at. The very best at it are the most successful. So I don't profess to be the most successful, but it's given me a nice life. That's how it is. But I think so to counter Neil Tolson's first two in the betting, that all depends on your if you can sit there and go 2 months without without any joy whatsoever and sit there miserable. That's probably for you. But yeah, I know people like that. Councillor Woodman, I think, he's like Iron Man. He can sit there, like, have you done it last 6 months, Woody? Well, lost every month, He can wait for them big draws. But yeah. As for changing things, I'd only change things if I felt what I was doing initially is wrong. Sometimes I'll add things to my game rather than change them. So it's a case of, right, should I be looking at this? Boring Rowlands goes on about stride patterns and stuff like that. I've looked at stride patterns. Will it make a difference to me? A little bit. I kind of get it for sprinters and stayers. It's about going about stride lengths and patterns. But other than that,
I couldn't get the fuckers to stay still enough to have I measured them.
I like that.
So I think we're on a few things there. I mean, mentioning John's strengths, John is a very good flat handicapper. Basically, he's good at spotting them physically. I always look to him for if he spots something, as I've said on our show before. If he tells me something that this is a good type physically, then I'm all over it. I'm watching its videos. I'm following it, because I think Neil, to answer the question, stick to your strengths, what you think you're good at. If I maybe analyse last year and think, well, what rate, or you punt in life and just say, what races do I excel in? People often tell me I'm really good at nursery handicaps, and they said, like 2-year-old handicaps. Not all people are. Some people are useless. I'm shit, probably over most jumps, really. By shit, I'm not saying I lose much money or anything. I probably don't make as much money as I do on the flat. John's the same. But John, like I say, he's an excellent judge of a horse in terms of physical progression, 3-year-olds, etc. He excels. That's why don't forget to listen to our 3-year-olds to follow coming up in early March that we'll all have ready for you, because that'll be an absolute corking podcast. Like last year, We nailed it, all three of us. That was fabulous tipping. Okay, move on to a few more questions to finish the show. G Hart's been on giving preference to 47.65 racing at Dundalk over 90 grand races at Meydan on Friday. What's that all about? I can tell you simply that the Arabs don't charge racing TV for the coverage. They let them, so they've no contractual obligation to show them over anything. Whereas if you look at ATR, when they have King Kong on, they have to show King Kong, even at worst case scenario on a split screen with Lingfield, because obviously King Kong have paid Dosh to be shown live on TV. So that one covers that. Harry T being scathing about our staking and price taking on Friday. I sort of agree with you, Harry T. We might be making changes for the next naps competition.
Why don't we go worst price?
I'm going to say I think he wants us to have SP and just make us look like complete fools. But anyway, he's gone to say media darlings, the horse watchers, without a doubt, as the media constantly tell us, can improve scrap from shit trainers. However, never any scrutiny on the site as they have. A very good example yesterday. But Harry T, you know the game. He's like this. If they're paying the bills and everything else, if you bought an horse, what would you do, right? So Harry T, you've bought one for 8k out of Alan Berry's. It's off 45. It's working to 70.
You'd buy the whole yard for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I know, you have to go to now. Dixon's will be underbidders. That's the problem. But but no, but
see, probably get a nosh off Alan as well.
Yeah, probably would actually. Yeah. So anyway, working to 70, you think whoosh, but then you wake up on morning. And it's gone from 8, 6, 5, 4, 7 to 2, 3, 5 to 2, 9 to 4, 2 to 1. It's 2 to 1. It's 9:45 a.m. Harry T. What do you do? Do you go and you ain't got a sovereign on? You ain't got a brass copper coin. What are you doing? That's the question for you. I'll put that right back on you. So you can give it, but in the same situation, I think we know what you do. Colonel Braxton, are UK races going off late? Big corps attempt at creating extra betting turnover. I don't think there's in that. I think they're just incompetent and they don't have enough stall handlers. And the less said about no outriders, etc. It's just a shit show, really. I think that's about covers it. Anything else to add, chaps? Nope. Okay. Well, we're going to do a poll not sort of a poll, a thread. Look out on Barstew's Twitter tomorrow, please, because we want your best racing tracks that get you in the mood for racing, etc. Because we're going to record a special soon regarding best racing tracks and betting stories, and one for the nostalgist. This one, so we need your help on that because the best ones that we think will go into the actual show. So
I think the Barstew's playlist.
Absolutely, we'll create a Barstew's playlist, but I'd say we can put sort of the best tenor into a Barstew's show where we play extracts on the show and generally have a laugh. So yeah, good one that one. Oh, you've enjoyed it. That's all from me, John and Chris. Bye for now.